I'm Joshua Potts, Mr. Possible, always with the brother with the same mother, Aaron Potts, Super Hot Potts, and you're watching and listening to your favorite two black runners every single Two Black
Yes, sir. We got a friend. We got a homie. On the show today, bro.
That was amazing, bro. I got to stop right here, dude. I've seen it. I think I've seen it before. I've heard it before, but never has it been so amazing. I appreciate that, bro. Thank you.
Hey. It's special though. It's really special.
Hey, but I think I need you to say your three favorite black runners. You know what I'm saying? Wait, let me get in on the.
Hey, everyone wants to feel a part of it, bro.
Yeah, for real, but they are a part of it, and I think this is really special too. I feel like this is me and Aaron's first time being on like a podcast, interviewing someone together, and like the past like 2 months, and it's special because we got Tommy Runs in the building, a marathoner, podcaster, a father, an all-star vegan, as he like to call himself as well, bro. Really, just feel like took running influencing by storm, like took it by the head in 2022.
One of the hottest in the game right now.
For real, like,
hottest in the game.
He was everywhere. He was everywhere, filling all the spots. Tommy Runs joining us on the podcast, and I'm just happy. Like, I wish I could have done an even better intro for you. I know after this, I'm gonna be able to do like a much even better intro to learn more about your story, just more about what you're doing. Because what I've seen just through Instagram and how you operate and how you move, like you're inspiring so many people, so I'm happy like to be able to talk to you and get to know you in this podcast. It's gonna be fun.
I appreciate that, man. Appreciate that. Much love.
You right when you say though, your three favorite black runners, because like you said, like Tommy, you like I said, you hottest. I mean, you're black. Yes, you're definitely.
I'm definitely black.
You're definitely black. You know, but you're one of the hottest in the game.
The family is predominantly black. You know. It's crazy. It's been a crazy year and a half or so. And I'm happy to be on the show though. I've been watching y'all for a minute. And I'm like, dang, I don't know if I gotta run on the track or something. I gotta get on the show somehow. But maybe I created enough noise to get on the show. I appreciate it.
Yeah, man, and it's just been cool seeing your rise and seeing your journey. And I appreciate the love from you, bro. Like when we saw you at Worlds and you were like, bro, like I'm excited to meet y'all and everything. Like I was like, damn, that made me feel like what we were doing was like having an impact on someone, like real spill. So I appreciate that love.
No, that was for real. Cause like when I kind of saw y'all from a distance, and even at Worlds with all those people there, like, black folks still stand out, and it was like, I kind of had to do a double take, like, oh, that's them, So I had to like make sure I got over there, caught y'all because y'all was headed out. So I had to catch up to y'all. And I feel like it's important, for us to do more than just like the black folks like head nod or whatever when we see each other.
Yeah.
Especially if you're creating in the same space. I feel like it's super important for us to connect and really show love to each other and say thank you for what we do for each other inadvertently and directly.
No, definitely. I definitely feel like this year for me personally, I went to UTMB, I went to Kona, I went to TRE, New York City Marathon, Worlds. Like I went to a ton of different big events, and like I just was doing like an interview thing yesterday, and the interviewer was asking me about like what's it been like, and I was like, I feel like I've been like low-key connecting more so with like the people like me, in these spaces. Like when I went to Ironman, like in Kona, there was only 12 black participants, and then like I ended up sha'carri, she's with Hoka, so super cool with her. Gonna have her on the show soon too. She wants to come on. But then I just connected with Morgan Lattimore. He does a podcast, The People's Coach. I connected with this guy, Marcus Fitz. And like, I don't know, became like homies with them because like, you have that similar experience of just like being black in these endurance type type of spaces for sure. And it's real genuine. It's real genuine too. And I feel like learned so much from just like talking to those people. But even like Tanika Joshua, who wrote the Oprah thing with it, she's into cycling and stuff like that. So it's always cool to like, not that we're all the same. It's cool to just see the different perspective from people that look like you and stuff like that.
I mean, yeah, and I feel like we all deal with the same underlying dynamic, whether doesn't even matter like of the upbringing for real. Like we all bring our own flavor to it, but we all have the same underlying experience, so it's easy to connect, and it's easy to see the work that somebody's doing, because from an appreciation standpoint, you can see like, hey, look, these two black dudes is doing their thing in a space where it's obviously not black.
Yeah.
So it's really easy to connect on that level and really appreciate each other. Because I think for a lot I don't know if it seems like in other industries it may be more competitive, and you see more like kind of shade maybe towards each other, because it's like there's only so many of us that can do a thing here. But I haven't felt that in this in running, and I think that that's strategic, and I appreciate people like Sika and Allison Dacier and all the people who are out there and welcoming and open, to like, yo, if you need me, hit me up. It's just been a great experience.
No, that's so true. I feel like everybody like definitely like Allison, like she wants everybody to have a seat at the table, just because like the table ain't big enough, like there's a big table there, and like there's a lot of open seats, and she wants like everybody to get a chance to have a seat at the table, and it's great to see like other black people like trying to do the thing, trying to make something of running, and trying to get these opportunities. But before we like dive deeper into the podcast, I'm also just wondering, Tommy, like how would you describe like what you do with running like through social media and stuff? Like how would you like describe that for somebody that doesn't really know you or anything like that? How would you describe like over the past year and a half like what you do on running during social media, like a little like elevator pitch? How would you describe that?
Dang, I haven't. I should probably be better at this. I mean, I would definitely say that I'm a creator in the sense of like creating content for Instagram and on Instagram, but I'm trying to like I'm trying to tell my story, which is telling other people's stories as well, and do it in a way that feels authentic to the people that grew up like and feel like how I feel about certain things. So I guess I don't like the influencer part. I mean, obviously, like I connect with brands and do that thing, but my goal is to create great content that people feel like they're a part of, and not just like watching me sell a shirt or something like that, but more of a, I connect with this, I vibe with this, and I'm happy that brand connected with Tommy. I want that connection more so than, oh, that's a sweet shirt. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So like right now, like I guess this is not an elevator pitch at all. This is like
we're going up like
this is like a
floors.
lunch. This is like a lunch pitch. Honestly, like, so I'm just trying to do everything, bro. I'm trying to do everything that feels authentic to me. So that's why the podcast came about. That's why the clothing line I started came about. That's why all these attempts to work with brands directly to create dope content. I'm just trying to be as many places as possible to help more people see people like us out here doing a thing and have some fun.
Yeah, and it's just like you have the Run Eat Sleep Show is the podcast,
Mhm.
Ship Time Running, that's the clothing brand. Then you even have the PR project with your boy Aaron. Great name. That's the homie.
It's a pretty standard.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's the first. Wait, hold up. It's the first name in the dictionary.
Bro,
what do you mean?
That's honestly
Is that the
just
first name in the
because there's two A's. Like, I feel like that's low key like narcissistic in a way.
Stop,
like Aaron
bro.
kind of came up with, I'm gonna put myself 2 A's. I'm gonna give myself 2 A's where I could be first. Like, come on, bro.
God gave him 2 A's. Aaron was a leader in the Bible. He was a speaker. What do you mean?
How do you spell aardvark? Is it 2 A's?
That's a garbage. I don't know. You don't know. That's exactly. No one knows.
Tommy, have you ever heard the phrase, First the worst, second the best. So I'm just
Yeah, I've definitely heard of that, and that's why I feel like you're the better person on this show. You actually,
No,
you,
no.
I do when I
bring
write
more
things out. I do
value.
Aaron and Joshua pods just for that reason. Hey, because
Right,
he wants to be
exactly.
first, but first the worst. What did God say? First shall be
But
last.
what did they say on Talladega? If you're not first, you're last. Have you heard of that?
Okay, you gonna quote real fast?
I
Ricky
mean, but then
Bobby.
remember, if so, did you finish watching that movie? He realized that was like his dad just said some crap stuff to him. It wasn't.
You only watch halfway.
Hey, that took him to the top. That
Yeah,
took him to the top, though.
He stopped right there. All right. Well, yeah, no, I could dig it. I could dig it.
But I think it's just dope to see you creating in so many different types of ways. But really, it all started with you just lacing up your shoes and going out
Yeah.
there to run. Like I want to hear though, like growing up, were you into sports at all? Did you run track? Or
No, so like for me, like growing up, I played soccer when I was young. Till probably like from maybe 6 or 7 to like 10, 11, 12 or something like that. And then I picked up golf, oddly enough, like right around like 13 or 14 years old. And then played golf all through high school. And that was pretty much it. But, in the neighborhood like that I grew up in, we played everything from soccer to hockey to baseball, basketball, football, all that. So like I always was interested in like follow sports and like sports. But I always like had like this like, oh, I'm too small for that. Like I never, I was always like the smaller kid of everybody, so I just didn't have like the courage at the time to just be like, go after some of those ones that would be more like physical sports. Golf just fit really well because I was good at it right away. So I just did my thing with that, played through high school, and then didn't do anything athletic, from high school until pretty much high school until like running became a thing.
Wait, wait, where'd you grow? You grew up in Detroit? You're from Detroit or in that area?
Yeah, so yeah, so like I grew up I went to schools in Southfield, Michigan, which is like right outside of Detroit. Like my grandmother and things like that lived in Detroit, so I would spend a lot of time there. But then most like my mom made sure that so my dad passed when I was 9 or when I was 8, and I give like so much credit to my mom for making sure that, and my grandparents for making sure that like that my sister and I grew up and had the best resources possible. You know what I'm saying? So she made sure that like whatever she did, she kept us in a school district that was, thriving at the time, and Detroit Public Schools wasn't at that moment. And I think it still has like some work to do, but there's some schools that are coming around. But yeah, she made sure that I was like just far enough away to keep me on the right, like keep us on the right path. So I grew up in Southfield, right outside of Detroit, and was cool neighborhood, a lot of diversity, a lot of Black folks. So it was Southfield to me, like it's just like it's like some of the Black parents that like worked in the plants or whatever and moved out of Detroit.
Yeah. So like, how did you? What was the? I'm just curious about the golf. Like,
Yeah,
how did
not
the
a lot of-
introduction to golf
All right.
come? Was it
So-
like, were you just watching Tiger and you're like, I'm gonna
so
try
like
this?
so my mom's had got married, remarried like when I was like 10, and then we moved to Pennsylvania. We lived there for a year, and I lived off of a golf course. Like the 14th hole was like right behind us. So like I was like selling candy and like refreshments or whatever. But then like my mom had some golf clubs, so every now and then I would just go play around a little bit. So like that was like a random introduction. Like it meant nothing. It was like, oh, I never even thought like, oh, I can do this later.
Yeah.
But then when somehow like I was on a driving range, I've never told this story. So somehow I was on a driving range with my mom because she was like into golf at the moment, and she was like hitting some golf balls or whatever. And then I was bored at like 12 or 13, and I'm like, I'll just let me get some of those. I'll hit them over next to you, right? So I'm just hitting them or whatever. And then some guy walked up and was like, how long has he been playing? And she's like, today. And then he's like, oh, he looked like he'd been playing for for at least a little while, like it's supernatural. So then that's what I needed. Like I was growing up, I needed and forget growing up, like even to this day, like I need, validation for certain things, like, and
Yeah.
validation helps and feels good. So like all he had to say was that, like, that, oh wow, that's crazy, and I'm impressed. And then I'm like, okay, well, I might as well keep doing that for, you know, to find maybe that's the thing for me. And then I just got into it from there, and I was decent really quick. So I just stayed with it. And um, I don't play much anymore, but like, I'd always talk junk. I could probably beat most people just like playing one time a year. But we ain't got to get into that right now. But it was really cool. I mean, it was a different sport, very of especially back then, very white. Tiger Woods was like at his prime, so that was a really cool motivation to try to be like that and move like that. And he showed that there was like could be some swag involved in the sport, and it didn't have to be like what it looked like is middle-aged white dudes smoking cigars. It was he was like fit and doing his thing.
I would love to see Tommy with freeform dreads on the golf course.
Bro,
Just
it's some I got some videos on my Instagram of me hitting the golf ball, because every now and I gotta let people know me, like that know that I play, that they also play. I gotta like remind them that, like, hey bro, don't bring your money to the golf course, bro. I'm gonna try to take it.
I'm sure has that skill like came in handy like any like job meetings or anything like that with people where you going
Yeah,
on the golf,
yeah,
you just
yeah,
smacking
for sure.
people.
Like, cause like I mean, right. I've been working with the same company I work with now for like 15 years. And they, like all industries have like their, industry meetings and stuff like that. Running is the only one that doesn't have like a golf outing designated for it. But yeah, it would be cool to jump into like some of these golf outings and have some fun and kind of impress every now and then. It's a good sport. Like people like think it say it's boring and stuff like that, but it's like one of the hardest sports to even get mildly good at, because it's just hitting a small golf ball some great distance to try to get as close as possible to this hole. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, but I really like that story too that you told. Just somebody walking by and like seeing like your potential and like validating that for you,
Yeah.
and doing that in a sport where like you don't really see yourself like that much too. So like I've never even thought
Yeah.
that like it would be different. Like that everybody hates Chris episode when Chris shooting a paper ball into the into the trash can, and then the teacher's like, wait, that's Michael Jordan. Like and like automatically that Chris could see himself in the sport. Like, oh, I like
Yeah. Yeah.
basketball. But like it's different if something like golf or like something like distance running or like it was rowing or something like that. It may not have been like the first sport on your mind, but somebody that gives you that foot in the door automatically like to come into the sport.
What I want to know too though is like because you get this a lot in the distance running world. You grew up in Detroit, a bunch of black people and stuff like that. People. So Tommy has always just been different. I know people were just like, yeah, that cat Tommy, bro. Like that dude playing golf and stuff like that. That dude, like, he's different. He's weird or whatever. Where people like, have you always just been like kind of just set apart, doing your own thing too?
Well, I guess I mean not like so not like it from like the standpoint where like others would say like that I was weird, weird or different or whatever. Cause like the one thing that I did really well, like I know how to like fit into what's going on, like
Mm-hmm.
I know how to just move in different spots and different places in life. And because of that like dynamic of like me hanging out with some of the kids that like were on my grandparents' houses and stuff like that, and then going back to like across 8 Mile and really going to school and kind of growing up with some other kids in different situations, like you kind of learn how to like balance that dynamic and play that part well. So I never like had any issues with like other people saying it was weird or different. But I definitely always felt detached or whatever. Some people just you
Yeah.
can tell certain people in a room really feel everybody in the room and they like connected to everybody. That's just never been me. I've always felt like I was kind of like on the outside looking in, and that was probably self-inflicted. But I think that it plays really well into who I'm like creating now and becoming now, because I have always been a little like offset, maybe on purpose, because of like, the stuff that's happened in my life that like maybe required me to build a wall for certain things, so
Yeah.
it was never like out, it was never external, it was always internal.
Yeah.
Step back from people.
Definitely too, like condolences to like losing your father at such a young
Yeah.
age and stuff like that. That has to have had like a major impact and a lot of trauma that comes with that. Like
Yeah.
my girlfriend actually lost her brother like at a really young age, at like 12 years old, and like that's just such a
Yeah.
big thing to happen when you're still like just developing and like growing up, and makes you just see life so differently very early on.
Yeah. Yeah, I can talk about that. I mean, you want me to? I mean, we can go there. Yeah, I think that it it was really tough. I mean, you're trying to figure out who you are. You're not even at 8 years old. You're not really even trying to figure out who you are. You're just eight. You're doing anything, and and to lose a guy like that at that age, and he was only 39 years old. So it's like it wasn't like he had some issue or that we knew of, or it was super quick. It wasn't like he had a stroke, and so to have a stroke at 39 years old obviously caught everybody off guard, and it was just tough for me after that point to like fit to see where I fit in the family. Then I'm the third of, my son is the fourth now. um and we're not, all of our names aren't, is not Tommy Runs, just to make sure everybody is aware of that. But like it was really tough to like to manage like who I was going to be like as a young man, without like a father figure around other than like my grandfather. And he was like, World War II guy, so unfortunately that era of like men didn't necessarily have this like the words and the vocabulary to like to express like the softness to like to us, in most cases, to help me figure out what was next for me, or like how I was going to be like a strong and caring person.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it was just like all of my life since then, it was just always trying to figure out like how to help other people. And I think I did that a lot by like trying to like be as like quiet as possible, like as like out the way as possible, which was probably played a it played like wreaked havoc on life later. And that's probably where drinking came in. Like, his drinking was like the first time that I felt like I didn't have to worry about what other people thought of me and how I could fit to something. I didn't need to fit anymore. I was like, oh, this is me, and I don't
Yeah.
really care. So like when soon as drinking became a thing, it was just like, this is gonna be you, looking at the bottle, like me and you are gonna be friends. We're gonna be able to do some things and have some fun without like having like this, oh my God, what is this person gonna think? How can I help? How can I not cause any waves? Because my mom had to go through a lot,
Yeah.
to figure out, what she was gonna, how she was gonna raise two kids. And I wish I had done differently as a kid, to say like, hey, like, I'm a kid, I'm just gonna try to be a kid, instead of, I'm a kid, but I also know we're all hurting, and so I'm just gonna hold everything on my own.
Yeah, it's like you feel like you just want to help, and you don't want to. It sounds like you're saying you want to help, and you don't want to feel like you're causing any more
Right.
like
And then,
any
but
more
then,
problems.
and in that, I caused more problems. You know what I'm
Mm-hmm.
saying? Like, I think that's like the biggest thing that I've learned from like, as I've gotten older, is like the more you communicate about anything, it's just the better it is in any situation. Whether you communicating causes an end to that thing, it's it's better that way than to not communicate, hold it, and let life take its course with this situation that you should have addressed. And I wish I had just talked and said, hey, I'm suffering too. And not that my mom didn't ask. I mean, she did everything she could, but it was me that decided, like, I'm gonna hold all of this as much as possible so I can just not be an issue. and then, but in that, I created more issues for myself and others.
Yeah, and I think too, like that. Well, it's just really hard to be vulnerable with people, like to be vulnerable and like to say that like you're hurting with like any type of issue, like
Yeah.
that's like, and then but then once you're able to actually like unlock that, it becomes
Yeah.
like a superpower, to always be able to talk about your vulnerability and be able to help other people that are going through things and just become like a better communicator. But like, because something that I definitely like struggle with, just that trying to be like vulnerable throughout
Mm.
times and to tell people that you're hurting, tell people that you're struggling through and everything. But like, it's definitely that first steps of like trying to be like sober and things like that has to take. But yeah, I feel like vulnerability could really be like a superpower in that sense.
And I think that, like, just to add to it, it's like one of those things where the reason why you don't share is because you think that you'll be a burden to other people.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I've learned, I feel like all of us could be a tad bit more selfish, when it comes to, like we're taught to like be selfless,
Yeah.
but at certain times, like in most things, if you seek and look for like the highest version of yourself or the highest act for you at that moment, and not just like a selfish act and like a I want pizza, so I'm like not that, but like the highest thing at that moment that you could do that would make you feel love, peace, and like just serenity. In that moment, that's always the best thing for everybody. And sometimes sharing with not everyone in the world, but sharing with the people that are close enough to you, and putting yourself first and saying like, hey, I am having an issue with something or this thing or whatever. That's super important, and I think it takes the courage to be selfish when it seems like you shouldn't be. And it's not selfish because other people are involved in what you have going on regardless,
Yeah.
whether you share or not. You're tied to all these people you sink, and everybody does in some way. So it's I don't know what makes me like why I feel like lately, and then with like DJ Twitch,
Nah.
Yeah.
and I don't know. I don't know. I didn't know him, and I think that the world was like so shocked by it because how happy he looked, and I would think that like somewhere in there he was being selfless by not sharing and not weighing anybody else down with what's happening. But in that moment, it being selfish and saying, "Hey, look, I don't care about my sponsorships. I don't care about all this stuff. I know that I need help right now and to talk." I'm not trying to speak on his thing in general, but more of us share selfishly what's going on. I think it'll help us all collectively.
And I think I want to go. We're definitely taking a left field on the podcast. No, but
Sorry.
now, but no, it's good though because I think this could definitely help somebody in anything. You never know. But like, because we were talking briefly before the podcast, just how we saw each other at World Championships, and like, bro, like we were lucky. Me and Aaron, we were lucky burnt after World Champs, and then we didn't release. Or at least we had the Allison podcast, we had the Dawool podcast, and then we didn't release a podcast like for almost like 2 months. And really what that came down to is like kind of like behind the scenes of like two black runners. And I won't give like everything, but like I was just going through some things just during that time, like after World Champs, like mainly to sum it all up, I was just having like a lot of anxiety with like school and everything. And because I go to school and then I coach with my dad at Norco High School, and then like trying to do like the podcast. And like this year it was just a lot. I was doing 5 classes and like also trying to like coach like cross country and go to the meets and like the training and trying to give like 100% in all these different areas. Kind of just I was like, bro, like I was giving so much 100%, and then I was also just like in my faith in Christianity, I was like I need to get closer to like God, because like I'm like falling away. I want to be a better like disciple, and like I couldn't do. It was hard to like be a good student, try to be a better disciple, try to be like a good boyfriend, try to be a good podcast host, try to be a good brother,
It's a lot.
and like
Yeah.
and still like do the podcast. So I was like, I had to. It was like eating me up, because I like for 2 weeks probably I was like, dude, I need to tell Aaron that like, bro, we gotta we gotta change how we do two black runners. Cause like remember when we first started, we were all like 52 weeks straight.
You were like that.
I was like,
Hey,
I was like
Aaron,
that,
look,
but
nah.
nah, but we need at that time, at that season, like we really need to be there because it like we're just coming onto the scene and like 52 weeks straight. That was the thing. But then I still want to like be like consistent. Like I want to be consistent, like just for not I mean definitely for the people and the supporters, but just like for us. Like I love doing this. I see a future with it
Yeah.
and everything. And like I want to put my best foot forward. But you know something always definitely when you're trying to make a change, like something always has to sacrifice. And like
Mhm.
and it was I had anxiety like trying to tell Aaron. I don't want Aaron like to be mad or like be all like, bro, like come on man, we gotta keep on going and stuff. But then like eventually I was talking to like I was talking mainly to my girlfriend about it and stuff, and he was like, you just gotta tell him. And so I did tell him, and then like Aaron received it well, and then we had to just take it
Of
back.
course, yeah, of course he did. You know,
Yeah,
like
Yeah.
that's the thing. Like it's like you held that for 2 weeks, and you said you could have said it day one. You know, but we're just not comfortable like sharing like our what we're going through because it's I know that this is supposed to probably be about running and other stuff, but it's like I think it's important that like three black dudes is on a call or a video like talking about like mental health and because I just don't think not enough of us men do, but then definitely not like black men.
yeah,
And like you were right to be like selfish in that moment, like, hey, like I need this, and Aaron probably like, yo, like I want you to be good.
Yeah.
Like that's all really. Like, if the show's gonna be here, the listener's gonna be there, the podcast platforms ain't gonna change. It is what it is.
That's exactly what I
And
said.
yeah, and it's like in just that moment, you went from being, like having to say something for you, and then it worked out for the best. And who knows what like 23 brings because of that moment. And I just think that like so many of us try to do so many things and so many different you got to like prioritize that moments. And you said season, which is like what stood out to me the most is, like we all think that like we got to be, balls to the wall like all day every
yeah,
day, but there's like seasons for everything. And y'all had a season of like 52 straight. That was the season for, and you had a reason for that.
yeah,
And right now for the longevity, sometimes you got to take this is a different season. You got to take some time off.
For sure. And I also to add, like, when someone is vulnerable with you, it allows you, like me, because I'm not the
Mhm.
best at being vulnerable at all either. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? Being the older brother within this as well. But like, yeah, him opening up to me opens up keys for me to feel like more vulnerable when I'm having those moments and knowing, I have that person that's I'm working with, that's my brother, but also like my coworker who I'm working on
Mhm.
this business with, and it's like we can be open to talk about how we're feeling and the different things that are affecting us. Because yeah, this isn't a full-time, I mean, I have a full-time job, I have a girlfriend as well, bills to pay, things going on. So like, you know it is a lot. And that's the thing with just like the content type machine. The content type machine can be very a lot on your mental
it
health.
can be demanding.
Yeah, it can be very demanding on trying to keep up with the Joneses per se, but definitely your health is gonna come first. But
Yeah, yeah.
I think too though, like, bro, I think because it's like we're not really talking about running, but like in a way, like we are,
mhm.
Yeah.
like endurance sports and like endurance athletes, bro, like that's life. Like life is an endurance sport, and
Yeah.
like you said, like you gotta take seasons to like recover. Like you're gonna have injuries, like mental health injuries and things. Like it's not
Mhm.
life is definitely not a sprint. You gotta be able to
Yeah.
outlast and endure so many things in order to get to like blessings in your life.
Yeah, and we're hopping over, but I kind of want to say this too, though. I also feel like within running culture, like especially if you're in like the sport of like trying to do track or something like that or compete in marathons, it can be the same thing where your identity is very wrapped up in what you do. And then when you
Mhm.
get hurt or like for a lot of athletes when they finish college and stuff like that, and it's just like you hold in, or you just push through a lot of things mentally that you need. And like we're seeing it all over in sports right now, how big mental health mental
Yeah.
health really is. And Tommy, I know, reading up on you and listening to you, that's a big thing. That's a big thing for you. Like how you talked about, I heard something about when you got hurt, like for your first marathon, and then you got into yoga, and that kind of opened up your mind a little bit more to
Yeah.
mindfulness and running and everything.
Yeah. Yeah, like I think I don't know how it played out for me with like the yoga thing, but um yeah, I 100% agree. Like, and I understand even more like when professionals like get hurt and they have an issue, and then it's so tied into their identity, and it would make sense, kind of, and then like college athletes and things like that. But then I think like the normal runner gets really caught up in that too. Like, you get hurt, and this is what people know you do running. Who is he? And I think that like that's all. No one thinks that, like no one, like Tommy runs it. I mean, I don't get hurt, and then somebody's like, well, who is he now? Like nobody cares really about that, like some of the things that we really worry about. But yeah, to talk about the yoga thing, like yoga, it's kind of been around a little bit, like, in like throughout like my older life. Like I've kind of tried and like kind of dabbled at it a little bit. And then right around the time that like really stands out, that like I did this like 30-day thing, like and I called it the 30-day yoga reset. So my grandmother passed, and I can't remember what month it was. I think it was like maybe like October or something. And she meant a lot to me, and I couldn't, and with all this stuff that was going on with like social media, like content creation, my job, my family, like just all this stuff, it just seemed to be like way too much, like for me to handle. So like I needed something to do that would like force me to slow down enough to maybe work through some of that. And then yoga definitely like helped with that. And 30 days in a row of it, very intentional yoga, like, and actually trying to make sure that like I was using that time for the purpose, of like reconnecting or resetting, helped out a ton. And it just brought me closer to like this mindfulness and intentionality that we can move through life with. And I think without that reset, and the one I did it after that as well, without those moments, I don't think that I'd be like open and prepared to like talk as openly as I do now about like mental health, and some of the other like struggles that that I have. And I use Instagram a lot for like some of that release as well. Like, not to, like, I'll post a video like that I think is super dope, but I'll make sure I pick a song and like that like really connects more like how I feel, even if it doesn't match like what you think would be going on in the video. And then also like I'll make sure that like I kind of share in my captions a lot. So if people see my videos and they just like it and move on, there's like a lot, like I share a lot in my captions, just because I think that it's a really decent place to share it. It's written, it's, people can kind of take it for how they take it. But yeah, I think yoga and mental health are very are just big for me in that space.
So going back though, when did we go from like golf, and then you get introduced into alcohol, and then at some
Yeah.
point you get introduced into to like running or fitness per se, and that
Okay.
kind of like changes your life. Like when did that start, and how did it start?
So yeah, alcohol's like was like said hello at like 17, and then it just had a long, you know, roller coaster of a relationship with alcohol, and it was only good in the beginning, and then everything else after that was just deeper and deeper into this like really really dark hole. And up to this point, like up until like 2000, mid 2016, late 2016, when I was like really starting to feel like the effects of like drinking at that point, drinking for like 16 years, and to the point where like I'm drinking like every day. um like all day. Like if I fell asleep and didn't finish something, I'd wake up and finish it. Like that was the vibe. And um, it was just a dark like spot in time for me. And so like, I'm like in that denial, like, oh, I can stop at any time thing, or like hiding how much I was drinking from people close. And I was like, well, let me stop for like a week. And that just didn't work. Like it would last like a couple of days or something. And every time that I would try this thing to try to control it, the more I felt like I was just like losing or a loser, like I just can't, this, my life is nothing. Like I can't even stop for 2 days. Like that's ridiculous. But I just had nowhere to turn. And then after like the new year, I was like, okay, New Year's resolution. This is what I'm doing. No drinking for a month. I can do this. Lasted like 4 days and then went on this like really depressed, like, 2-3 days. And then I finally like my mom just happened to text me at like the weirdest moment. I think it was like one of those mornings I woke up, drank, and would just felt like shit. And she just texted me at the right time and was like, how are you doing? And I finally just told her, not good, just no. And she's like, reach out to like most employers have like an employee assistance program. And it's like real anonymous and all that stuff. So like I reached out to them, they hooked me up with this, they ended up hooking me up with a therapist for like 5 free sessions. And I think most companies have like this setup. So if someone's listening and you need help, I mean, it's pretty easy to reach out to the employee assistance program for your job. But ended up meeting up with this therapist. And the day that I went to go see her was January 11th. And I finished a drink at like on January 10th at like 11:50. Like, okay, I'm not going to drink in the morning when I wake up. I'm just going to go see this lady, just try to continue to tell the truth because I told my mom the truth. So I'm going to tell her the truth. And then went to the meeting, told her the truth about how much I was drinking and how I felt. And she referred me to an Alcoholics Anonymous meeting 4 days from then. And I vowed that I wouldn't drink because I took that one step. So I told myself I wouldn't drink between then and then, and made it those 4 days. And then I walked in that meeting and a bunch of, I'll just keep it simple, a bunch of white folks that, didn't have the same upbringing as me, told my story like in their own way, like by sharing their own stories. And I was like, okay, I think I'm home. Like I relate to these people. And then like I went on this journey of like trying to be better, like, and because I felt like I had lost so much time, like I was headed towards like an early grave and all this stuff, so I'm like, yo, I gotta do something. I feel like crap. I don't look good, to me anymore. And so I'm like, so I hit the gym, started lifting, used like that 7 days a week drinking mentality to go to the gym 5, 6, 7 days a week too. And really had a big drastic shift in how I looked and how I felt. Year of that and eating better. Then I went vegan in February of 2018. And then someone invited me to the race was in July. He invited me like in May. And I was like, sure, I'll do it. Raise some money for a charity called Move for Hunger. And I just started running and finished the race in 149 and some change, 149.25, I think it was, for a half marathon, my first one. And somebody gave me those kudos, like the dude on the driver range. And they were like, a bunch of people was like, wow, that's really fast for someone who just started. And I was like, that's all I need to hear, So I just kept running it, liked the process, and then just kept going from there.
For sure. That's, and I want to say what you're doing with the podcast stuff is fire too. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. That keep you grinding with that too. Yeah. But what was it? So was it really more like, was there anything outside of that kudos from running that really like you really liked that stood out to you?
Well, I mean, I was already very physical at that point. Like I had got pretty big. Like my name was like legit Tommy Guns on Instagram. So like after like running became more of a thing, my cousin was like, yo, you should just change the time you run. You ain't Guns no more. And then so I'm like, I put the R in to see like if it was available, and it was, so I took it, but yeah, like I think in the beginning I wasn't training, so like I didn't know what was what, but I really liked the race that I went to, like, and I wasn't looking around to see how many black people there were. Like, didn't care. Like I was there for me to see if I could do this 13.1 mile thing. You know, I had these crazy expectations that I was going to take it out the gate and just somehow like finish at 130 something or whatever,
Yeah.
which was just a crazy thought. And it humbled me quick, you know, and I'm like, okay, well, this is tough. But when I crossed that finish line, I felt so much like it was the first time in like almost, and I've done some really cool stuff before that point, like, you know, like had kids and, you know, and got promotions and make money and all this other stuff. Like, I mean, I've had things that people say, what about this, you know, but that was like one of the proudest moments of my life was crossing that finish line because I don't know what it was about that 13 miles other than the fact that I'd never thought I'd run 13 miles before or at one point, you know, at one time. And it just was so, I felt so like just happy, you know, and growing up, like from 8 to that moment, I wouldn't have described my life, like myself as happy, you know, as a happy person. I wouldn't say I'm sad all the time, but even now, like I don't like resonate with like happy, you know, like it just doesn't feel like normal to me. Like that's not my like my
Yeah.
mode of operation, I guess. But like I felt pure happiness at that moment. So and it felt better than a drink, you know, even though I was a year and a half away from it. I'm like, this is it. Like this is awesome. Let me keep going. And then people obviously saying like, yo, great job, that's amazing, keep going, you know, da da da. That helped the push. But then I jumped into running more often and ended up like reaching out to somebody online for a coach, like on Instagram, like legit. This dude wrote up a bunch of stuff on a piece of paper, took a picture, sent it to me. And that was fun and like learning about running and getting out there more often. The process caught me after that, but you know, the happiness, that joy of accomplishment, and then those kudos together created like this. I want more of whatever this thing is.
Yeah, that's wild. I think it's crazy to just see how the different journeys that people take from running. Cause like me and Aaron, we started running at like 5 years old. Well, no, I started running at 5. Aaron, how old were you?
Probably like
12?
10, 10,
10?
between 8 and 10 years old.
Yeah, so
Something
like
that.
we definitely, but now like our running, since our time on the track is like ended, like we're like switching over. Like Aaron's thinking of starting to like running the trails. I'm thinking of trying to run a marathon this year. We'll see. But I think it's just it's interesting to hear like the different ways it's going, and we're finding different ways of loving the sport. And I definitely found a different way of loving the sport, just like through coaching, like for sure. But I was just curious from you. Then when did you start to realize that like, dang? Because I'm assuming you probably just started to make reels. To like just make
Mhm.
reels like on your Instagram and stuff, just because like I want to like share my running journey.
What
Yeah,
year
yeah.
was this too, though? What year was this?
The running.
Yeah, like
Uh, so 17 quit drinking, 18 started running, but I was making a lot of like lifting content like you know during that year. Like I was doing like videos in the gym because like the gym video scene has been
Yeah,
popping, you know, like but I mean I didn't have like a following. I think I maybe had like 500 followers or something like that. Like it wasn't like an actual following or
yeah.
anything, but I was just making videos and like having fun with that. And then so it only made sense to like chronicle the journey. And I mentioned Move for Hunger because it's like I'm in like the relocation like in moving and storage type industry, you know, and Move for Hunger is also affiliated with the moving industry, and they you know when people move out, they if you leave your canned goods and stuff like that, they'll take them from your house to like the whatever to the nearest like food, you know, food place or food pantry. um and so like when I was trying to like raise money for them, I was like purposely making content around running so people could see like my journey through it, and so they'd be like more willing to like you know give me some money.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
And then so that kind of helped like just continue to figure out how to make this content. And then even farther down the line, when I ran the Detroit Free Press, my first marathon, I raised a bunch of money for Move for Hunger again. And I really shared like a lot of that journey.
Mm.
And this was like before reels. It was just like, you know, just videos or pictures or whatever. But I did that, you know, for attention too. But then also for, you know, help to raise money. But it feels good to share like what you're doing. And it was really like something out like into the world and that that satisfaction. But then I'm just still trying to figure out how to like accept the fact that maybe other people watch it and are like positively affected by it too.
Wait, would you say that you classify yourself as a creative before you start even doing like those lifting
No,
videos? No.
no, no. Like I mean, honestly, like the level of like imposter syndrome that I go through, um, being in Eugene, being on this podcast, having a all this stuff. Like
Yeah.
every time someone presents anything to me that you'd be like, yeah, that makes sense, Tommy. I'm like, yeah, I don't know. Like if they really knew me, so like I never called myself anything other than an alcoholic. That like so I didn't have any concept of like I can do a thing,
Yeah.
for real until like running and showed like more of the process and sobriety and running have the journey of sobriety and the steps have a real a huge parallel between the two and like how you like view it. Like one step at a time is a AA thing. One day at a time is an AA thing, but one step at a time, 1 mile at a time, one stoplight or one block or whatever is also a running thing. Like in that whole like be where your feet are and and be present in the moment. Don't worry about tomorrow. Don't worry about the next mile. Like it's just so many parallels in how you go about the day and process and be present. Running is just the physical version of my sobriety journey for me. That wasn't your question, but yeah, like so I didn't consider myself a creator at all. I was just putting out stuff that made me feel like valuable or
Uh,
like that I was doing something. You know what I mean?
I think, but like I'll tell you now, like you're definitely. I see you as a creative. I see you as a creative mind, and like I'm watching like your stuff. Like from your reels, I was inspired. I was like, dude, I'm gonna make a reel. Well, from other people too, but definitely like seeing how dope your reels can be. I was like, I'm gonna make a reel for like the turkey trial we did. That's like one of the reasons like I did it, and like it's fun like doing that type of
Yeah.
stuff like that.
Dope.
Like I started doing. I didn't really consider myself a creative probably until like because I started doing vlogs with my team like in 2018, my senior year of high school, and we had some videos that like did pretty good. Like we have one that's like almost like 500K on YouTube right now. But like even at that time, like I wouldn't have considered myself like creative like any
Yeah.
sense. But it wasn't until like maybe like a year ago or like 6 months ago maybe where I'm all like, yeah, bro, like I'm like a creative. Like I changed my Instagram thing. Like you can put like I'm a content creator now. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like it
yeah,
took
I did. I changed mine recently too. Like I had like athlete for a minute. I'm like, wait
yeah.
a minute, athlete. I mean, I am, but like, like yeah, it just, yeah, I just it was never in a space like because I know some like creatives though, too,
Yeah.
and I'm always gonna like I always compare myself to like others in a mostly negative sense, like oh I'm not that, you know what I mean? So yeah, I'm working on like trying to like develop the thing like yes this is what I do and this is kind of my thing. So I'm a creative. Yeah, I'll say it. I'll say I'm a creative, I guess. See how
So
I got to get out of it. I'm like, I guess.
so when did you move on from like because like the content you created is all obviously it's great. You raised all of that money that had to be like, all right, I'm pretty good at this. You
Mhm.
kept doing that, and then how did that develop into like, yo, let me hop on behind the mic, you know, let me start a
Mm,
podcast, and then we see all the shoes behind you too. Then you start
yeah.
getting it went from like getting like these donations from Move to Hunger to like, yeah, you doing stuff with brands, but how did you just get to the point to where you got the confidence to like step behind the mic and start talking to people?
Well, I mean, so like the clothing line came first. Like 2020 was like that thing where like, especially in the beginning, it was just with COVID taking off, world shutting down, everybody had time to like slow down a little bit to see and like watch the injustices that were happening around that time. you know um and it kind of reframed like how I thought about myself and how I thought about like maybe a possible legacy, like you know if I die because of COVID or I die because I go outside and I get pulled over for like a whatever, and I get killed in that exchange with a police officer or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
What can I give my kid? And the answer was nothing other than like life insurance, and and my dad was a blah 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 at this company, So like the thought of that moment was to like I need to create something to have, even if it was passing a company name that's worth $0, to know that like my black kids can look and see that their dad decided to step outside of the matrix just a little bit and create something that is his and owns. And so I started that. The Run Eats, it's a chip time running, but all the shirts said Run Eat Sleep Repeat on them. And then randomly one day I had this idea on a run where I should start a podcast to talk about running, eating, and sleeping. But the confidence kind of came from that because I was doing like on LinkedIn, like for my job, I would do stuff and create content just because to kind of like get my company out there more often and sell more, make more money. So like I was comfortable doing that, and but I had never done anything for myself. It was always it was for me to make money, but it was for another company, with another entity in mind. So like jumping behind the camera was a for me was different, and it was a big step to like say my name is Tommy Runs, and here I am to talk about some stuff that in my mind I barely think I know anything about, but it was a really dope process to jump in, and work kind of helped. My work experience helped lead me into this thing that I'm doing now, where it started from having just like my shirts hanging behind me on the first few episodes to like then I got a couple shoes sent because of like connections that I made, also probably because of the work experience, and then to now like I got all these shoes behind me mainly because of the same concept of like knowing how to be okay to talk to companies and ask for things, but also bring value in those in those exchanges. So all of life led me to the point where like I was able and willing and comfortable like, taking a shot.
Yeah, now it look like you got a whole shoe store behind you. I thought that was a shoe store.
I literally thought you owned like a running store or you worked at a running
You
store.
didn't
When I
say
first
that,
met you, when we were hanging out, I was like, bro, so do you like own a running store or nothing, something, bro? You're like, nah, bro. I was like, wait,
Nah,
what?
that's my basement, dog. Yeah, no, like, so like, shout out to like Kafuzi, not Kafuzi, because he doesn't do his shoes behind him, but like Believe in the Run and Ben Johnson on Instagram, because like they have these great walls of like shoes.
Yeah.
And I think one day like I had like this like weak rack, like it was like one of those racks that you buy like at like no shade to Walmart, but you buy it at Walmart, and it's like the ones that go at the end of your bed, and you just put the shoes on it and they slide off half the time. And I asked Ben like, yo, where you get that, the rack for your shoes at? And he's like, oh, on Amazon. So I ordered one, put it up, and then next thing you know, like then the PR project helped because we review shoes, and it just started pouring in.
Yeah, I low-key need one of those, bro.
Yeah,
I have so many shoes too. Some of mine just need to throw away, but I also have like just like from working at Hoka, and then just like I have so many shoes as well, and we be getting shoes too for stuff that we be doing that I never wear.
Oh man, you got unless you gonna wear them, you gotta or either put them in a rack or give them away.
I gotta at least give them away, or put them on a rack. But I do have a lot of running shoes. That would be helpful for me.
How many X2s you got though?
Only one right now. Only one.
I'm like, say, hold up, what size you wear, dog?
What I was wondering too, though, Tommy, because like looking at just overall, because I think I think one of our missions here as like Two Black Runners and like Running Report is like we just want track and field to be like better in the sport, or running to be bigger, like that's like definitely one of our goals. And I feel like you're kind of like you're like kind of like the prime example of that. Like I don't know, like back in like 2015, like did you know who like Sarah Hall was? And like over the past 2 years, like you became like a fan of like these type of runners and being at the World Championships. Just kind of how was that transition for you to be like becoming like a fan of the sport and the marathon and everything like that? Like how's that been?
Well, like I kind of actually like living, because I lived in Massachusetts for like 6-7 years for work, and like so I'm very familiar with the Boston Marathon, so like once I started running though, like that's who I am is like if I'm into something, I'm going to be into it, you know?
Yeah.
So like as soon as I started running, I'm like running content. I want to think about it, I want to talk about it, I want to watch it,
Yeah.
I want to get better. And that's a lot like how I learned how to golf too, was watching Tiger Woods, like legit watching him play and like how he carried himself. So that's how I also learned how to run, I think, a lot is watching, the greats do their thing. So like quickly I learned names and things like that, and jumped into all the content possible. So like that was just like kind of natural for me to just dive in. But it was like it's just crazy like meeting these people and like talking to them like over on my show and stuff like that. But yeah, it just kind of came natural to me.
Yeah, I'm literally the same exact way, bro. Like I was like, and I found out more about myself like that from like after I graduated college and got done. Well, like recently I like picked up roller skating. I haven't been
Ah,
on it, but like I picked up roller skating throughout COVID, and like I dove deep into like all of the culture. Like I was like, I gotta follow. I need to know who the top people are, like on Instagram, and see what they're doing. Just like I need to just I'm the type of
yeah,
person, like even with our podcast, because I was just super into I was into listening podcasts, and I was like, Joshua, let's start one. But like I get my confidence from watching. Like the more
yeah,
I'm a type of person, the more I see something and watch it, like I feel like okay, like if I watch it for a while, I'm like, all right, I think I could do it, you know. So I relate to that for sure.
yeah, yeah, for sure. Like, I mean, because I think a lot of people like that, but that's one thing like that I'm trying to like talk to my kids more about is because like I wish that because if you told I would have told you for so long until sobriety that like that I have no like follow through or like commitment,
Hmm.
stuff all that. Like I would have told you explain. I would have described myself as someone opposite of like who you're talking to, um, and I wish I would just have learned earlier on that it's like this is who I am. I didn't just become this way. Like and I say it in a weird way that, but like my dedication to alcoholism and the strength that I exhibited in those like really tough moments to keep going down that road.
Hmm.
Um, although very harmful and hurtful, and a lot of people don't make it out of that. Um, two ways I feel like that it gives me more confidence of like how who I am and how strong I am as a person to continue to like go past all the signs that say stop and continue down this road that even my body and mind were like, yo, this is terrible. But then going down that road, no, nonetheless, but then also the strength to like come out of that and continue to try to find who I am. So I think we just all need to like realize that we can do a lot more than we think if we give ourselves credit for the things that we've done, even if they're not related. Like that's a random story about like how I take confidence from alcoholism, but so many of us have done dope stuff, but we
Hmm.
won't the next challenge. We're like, oh, I can't do this. Like you can do this too. Just strip away like the words of the last thing and use that same like go-to spirit or whatever you had to get through that last thing. You can get through this too.
Yeah, honestly, I was like thinking about this earlier with you. Like, I think it's dope how you talked about like two sides. Like, as a kid, you played golf and you went from
Mm-hmm.
like hanging out with all of the black kids in your neighborhood, and then you were in these different types of areas, and you kind of like figured out how to fit in. But you also
Mm-hmm.
talked a lot about like social anxiety that you
Mm.
would experience a lot, and trying to make sure you're not a problem. And then like but now like fast forward, I'm seeing you at TRE speaking in front of all these people, like multiple. This dude was doing multiple live like interviews in front of crowds of like
Yeah.
people, and it's just like you always were that person though. When
Yeah.
when you tell the story from the beginning, I feel like you always were that person that knew how to maneuver through like these different spaces, and it sounds like you're pretty successful in your job
Mm-hmm.
outside of running and everything as well. So I can just see that. I'm just like I identify that within you from just hearing your story and everything too.
No, no, I appreciate that. Like, I yeah, I appreciate that, and I think that like the lesson for me is that like you said, like I've been this person, and we just don't make the connections often, and it stops us from like taking next steps and big steps or reaching for like crazy goals because we don't make the connections of like who we really are or what we've exhibited in all these different ways. Like um quick example, like when I first started, in my career, and like having to like do speeches in front of people, or forget the speeches, but like just going to sales meetings or like a room with like white folks with suits on that like make a bunch of money and they could make me more money. I would be so nervous to like be not even myself, but just be like forward and communicate well. And then I'd like had random thoughts like before it, like, yo, we don't have to get in part of this part of my story, but like I've been around people that were scary, like 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 I know that they're scary, not
Yeah.
because like I think they're scary. I just know that they're
Hmm.
just those type of people. And I'm like, I used to be around them all the time and did what I had to do to be respected and recognized. I can do this. No one's gonna do what these people could have done. So, like it's just it's a weird, connection, but I think more of us have those things that we could do to connect the dots to make us go like, oh damn, I am pretty dope.
Yeah. Yeah. What are you gonna ask me?
No, go ahead.
I was gonna say too, going back into like the content and everything, like I definitely relate to what you're saying too about work, like just working in a industry that is not, is predominantly white, male,
Mm-hmm.
white women. You definitely have that huge imposter syndrome stepping into some of these
Yeah.
rooms. Even just being like a young person though, too, on top of not even just being black, just being a younger
Yeah.
person.
Age, color, all of it.
All of it, bro.
Yeah.
All of it for sure. But what was it like for you when you started, you know, reaching out to those brands and you kind of started learning about like how the running industry kind of like operates, like the type of people that are like in the running industry, and what was that like initial experience like trying to work with brands?
I think it was really cool. And it was in 2022, in 2020. So it was a time that like brands were more open to having these conversations and they knew that they needed to cover some ground and make and talk to folks of color. So I think I started at the right time, in that aspect. And but I've learned a lot since then. Like I think that a lot of around that time, a lot of brands were saying what they thought they needed to say at the moment, and the exchanges probably weren't maybe for my following my follower count at the time, but it took a little while and for me to start seeing people like Hakim Safari and talking to Knox Robinson, and even like Russell
Jenkins.
from Jaybird Audio.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
He but like having these conversations where people was like, yo, like don't just take free shoes, like don't just do, like because and then I started looking back at some of the brands I had conversations with where it was definitely one of those they might have saw like an opportunity to like just send some shoes and check off the box. So but the conversations were dope, the people were cool, but I've had to learn to as I'm getting bigger in the space to realize that if you're in a position where a brand is talking to you and is does want to do some work with you in some capacity, that's for a reason. There's
Mm-hmm.
millions of people out here that they could also talk to as well. So whatever that reason is, accept that reason, but make sure that I had to make sure that it was mutually beneficial in some way. Most relationships will never be like equal,
Mm-hmm.
because of the situation, unless you like join in as a partner with Adidas or something like that. That's but other than that, and we've seen that actually doesn't work out for everybody either. But like I just it was cool, but I just needed to learn how to make sure that I wasn't being used and I'm using them as well.
Yeah. And it's like too, did you ever really see yourself as like, did you ever really think that this was gonna be something that people wanted to like I don't even want to say pay you for it, but like partner
Mm.
with you to like do things like that wasn't, I don't feel like that was like your intention when you first started anyways.
Well, no, I mean, honestly, like it was very superficial. It was like, it would be dope to get free shoes, you know? Like, I want to get free shoes too, because I saw other people getting free shoes, like, the reviewers, the shoe reviewers, they get all the
Yeah.
shoes all the time. So I'm like, yo, like, I'm about to, I'm gonna get free shoes one day, and then you
Yeah.
start getting free shoes, and then you realize, like, oh, well, this is this is definitely lopsided. Like, I need some type, well, whatever, and it's just a journey in like learning and in growing in these moments. Like, originally it wasn't any of this, but as you grow and as you realize that, like, you have a reach and people do listen to you and people do rock with you and they feel you're needed, then that's when I started making shifts of like, okay, well, now I want to do more for, like, our community. Now I want to make more small opportunities for like people to come along with me to places and things and like experience stuff or bring the experiences to us
Yeah.
in this area to, like, that people don't get to see. So
Yeah.
it's changed over time. I think in the beginning it was very shallow, and now it's starting to get a little more aggressive.
Now going into 2023 and just beyond that, what do you think the future of podcasting and running influencers and Instagrammers and Twitter people can look like going forward? Or what do you want it to look like?
Well, I mean, I guess I can only speak for me. Um, and I guess I can speak for a few others too, but I think that, like, I've said it before, like, I think like brands know that they need to check a box. And I think like checking a box sound is like there's negative connotation of like, oh, they're just working with you because, check the
Yeah.
box. But I think that all companies should have a list of boxes that need to be checked, that they prioritize to be checked. That's the problem, is that there was no boxes to be checked, so they were even worried about it. But if you are going to go through this list of like making sure you as a company or whatever gets this box checked off, do it with like passion and like sincerity and like commitment to that. So partner with creators and influencers that not only are Black, but that the values and the morals of the company align with, so that you can create like long-term relationships. So that's my thing, is like whenever I talk to brands now, I'm coming with the idea that I want to do. I'm coming with like, with the pitch to say like, hey, here's what I want to do, and here's why I think it's valuable. Because if I think it's valuable, I'm sure that if Aaron sees it happen and Josh sees it happen, they'll be like, damn, that's dope. You know what I'm saying? So like my thing for 2023 is to continue to create, but work with brands that can help me create at a larger scale, um, and help them check off the box in the proper way, so that it actually influences and helps other people that look like me, don't look like me, whatever.
Yeah. And I guess since we're going into 2023, what are some races that you have on the calendar, or any like can you give us any like sneak peeks to like content or things you working on? You don't give away all your ideas or
All right.
anything you want to share.
I feel, I feel like I feel like you might have an inside track.
I do have one, and I got something I want to talk to you about after this. I got you. I got
After,
something.
okay, after. Yeah. So I am gonna run the Miami half marathon. That's coming up, and that's with a company that you're familiar with as well. Um, so I'll be there, and I want to do the New York City half, which is like a decent amount of time right before Boston, because Boston is an absolute. Like, I want to rerun that. But after that, I don't really know. I am working on something that would be way outside of my comfort zone, for the summer of 2023. And I hope it comes together. I hope it shows, I think it's probably not to like, I don't ever like pat myself on the back or like big up myself, but I think that if I'm able to do it how I want to do it, it'll probably be one of the dopest things that's I just think it'll be one of the dopest things I've ever seen. You know, like I think it would be a crazy, crazy thing.
Yeah.
But hopefully that happens. But it may be like a marathon at the end of the year as well.
For sure. For sure. Yeah, we trying to hop in. I'm trying to hop in some of these distance races. I'm trying to
We're
do.
gonna get a marathon in this year. That's the plan, at least. We'll see.
I might do
Yeah,
this
like
trail half
we should
in
we
like
should
February.
we should like plan to do something like together, you know, like in like the fall or something like that. So you know, so you got some time to get ready or whatever. We should like do we should do like a marathon or something like that at the end of the year.
That would actually be dope. Are you gonna do New York again? We trying to do New York.
If this other yeah, I'll do. I did. Yeah, I'll do New York again. I think if unless something else like really crazy happens right around there, I'll do New York again if you do it.
For sure. I think
and you're trying to break 3.
you broke 3.
You broke 3.
Oh yeah. Not to say like that's like but yeah, no, I broke. So I did the Redemption Tour and I broke three times in a row.
Okay.
But so like I don't know like what the goals would be in New York. Like I don't know if I'd even. We'll see. But I don't know what the goal would be then. Okay. But I'll do it if I can and you do it too.
Because that's gonna be my only approach going into it. Be on pace
to break 3.
Yeah, just on the pace to break 3, and then hopefully I feel good and can run faster from it. But gotta get in shape for that though.
Yeah, you gotta train. I mean, I know y'all been running for a long time, and like that's the thing with y'all. Like you could just get back into it this spring, and then by the time the fall come around, you should be ready to go. I think.
But then the only thing is that I don't want to underestimate it too much because I know
this dude's already underestimating it too much, man.
He told me he's gonna run.
He said he's gonna run 4 days a week, bro.
Bro, what's wrong with that? I know. I
mean, look, dog.
4 or 5.
Man,
4 or 5.
I know a guy who doesn't run like how like the traditional sense, and he runs fast all the time. But at the same time, like honestly, if your body can handle like the consistency of like marathon training and running 6 days a week, and you can do that and then make it through the training block, I feel like you'll have a bigger chance at like really crushing a marathon as opposed to like taking like the easier thing for you to do. But if 4 days a week is like where your body's like, I don't know, then maybe you stay there. But if you can handle 6 days a week and high volume and workouts and all that and recover well, I think you'll have a really good chance in New York.
Wait, how many days do you run a week? 6?
6, yes.
Okay, you don't do 7?
I never did 7. I mean, I think I've done like a 7-day in a row thing before, just because or whatever. But I've never done. I feel like my body just needs the. It's just not used to the 7-day thing. I know a lot of people that do. I think it's crazy.
What's your highest? What's been your highest mileage that you hit?
I think like 83 miles. I think is like the highest I've done.
83 on 6 days. That's a lot.
Dang, you just started running 3 years ago.
Well, 4 technically.
4.
Like, I mean, give me 1 more year. But I mean, no. And then that's another thing too. Like I worked for my first marathon in 2019. I got a coach, Melissa Johnson White. She works under the Luke Humphrey running umbrella, and I've been with her since. And so like when I was wanting to run, like I saw everybody else doing 60, 70, 80 miles. Like I was like itching to try to do that. And she's like, no, 30, 35, 40 a week is good for you right now. And then like we took, 2 years for me to get from like this 35, 40 miles a week up to the 80, to do it safely, successfully, and not just go for broke one time. Like the goal is to be running well for a long time as opposed to just like running one marathon,
I don't want to ever do 80 miles. I don't actually.
I mean, look, I think once you start, you'll start seeing it differently. Like right now, to tell you 80 miles, you'd be like, yeah. If somebody told me I was gonna run 40 miles a week,
facts.
Whatever, I'd have told them that they was crazy. Like for what? Who am I running from for that far?
40 ain't that bad though. 40 ain't that bad.
Yeah, 40 ain't that bad.
Not bad.
I mean,
add another 40 on it though. That's crazy, bro. It ain't crazy, but like I know it's doable, but it's just like
no, it's crazy. It's crazy. It's okay to be crazy. Like let's make crazy normal.
No, I feel that for sure. But are we about closing out now, Aaron?
Yeah, but I still wanted to ask him. I want to ask you too to tell What
Hey, Josh, like, man, let's get out of here, dog.
I'm just asking. I'm just asking, bro.
we've been going full
I'm
key
just
for a
saying,
minute,
bro.
but this has
I
been
think we had the
good.
technical problems, yo.
We
You feel
did.
me?
We did have
You guys,
No,
technical
you
no, we
guys,
problems.
good. We good.
you
I'm
guys.
watching my emails. Ain't nobody hit me up yet. We good.
I was gonna ask you though, what do you think like separates? Because your show, the Run Eat Sleep podcast has really taken
Yep.
off. I really feel like it's really because I remember first just seeing you on lives, but I feel like over the past like 6 to 8 months, it's really like popped off. Like, because you got in the athletes on there, but not even. I like how you
Yeah.
don't just do athletes though. I like how you have like just regular people, back of the Packers, other content creators, but
Yeah.
like what do you think really separates like your podcast from what else is kind of out there on the market?
At first I want to say I appreciate like the that you noticed like the evolution of the show. I mean, because I was doing it on lives before, and I thought that was cool during the time, and so people could tap in. And I was trying to get honestly, I was trying to get the runners and the bigger followings to see me as well, so that I kind of
Mhm.
bring them with me to the show. But I think what I feel like maybe differentiates me from others is for some reason I have like this way to connect with folks, and people seem to be very comfortable talking to me about things, and I think that's it. I mean, and then I don't. I'm a running nerd. Like if we want to talk about VO2 maxes and stuff like that, like I really like that and cadence and all the numbers.
Yeah.
But then at the same time, like there's podcasts that do that and they do a really great job at it. So my goal is to just like connect with the person on a level like that where they want to connect. I mean, because there's people are very passionate about certain things and they have issues and things in life that have come up that they don't normally get to discuss, that I think that if you find out that this person you've been watching on TV run these marathons struggles with this and that or whatever that you can relate to as a listener, um, that means more than anything. A connection to me is way better than motivation from hearing somebody did something crazy.
Yeah.
Like the connection of like, oh dang, they go through this too. Um, that's I think what's different that that my show is good at is connecting like the dots of like of the human um similarities.
Yeah, honestly, and there's like a few podcasts out there, not many, but there always are those content creators that you look at, and I can see like ourselves like in it, and I
Mm-hmm.
I feel like we share similarity. Our podcast share similarity is where like I just think you do a really good job of like exactly what you're saying, connecting to people. Like I think anyone can listen to your podcast, from an elite runner to someone that just maybe runs 5Ks on the weekends
Mm-hmm.
to the person
Yeah.
that's training for marathons. I feel like your pocket's just good at connecting people, and I think it
Yeah.
kind of goes back to like you've always been someone that's been able to work in like any type of
Mm-hmm.
environment. I feel like that. I don't know. I feel like that's kind of like an element you get to like. I don't know. I always felt like for me being like a distance runner, like growing up doing club track, it's like mostly black people doing club track. You got meets in downtown LA, but then
Mm-hmm.
we were always distance runners. So then when we stepped out into high
Yeah.
school,
All
I'm
white.
on the
Yeah.
cross country team. You know what I'm saying? But it's just like, and we live in the suburbs, so it's just, yeah, it just, I don't know. I've always felt like I've been good at just like
Code switching,
not even code switching. I feel like
navigating.
I don't even know what the
Yeah.
word is, bro. I just get along with people, bro. People just get along
Yeah.
with me. People just, I just be chilling, you
Yeah. I
know?
think I think that like in those stuff, so code switching, like I think that I did that like a lot in the beginning of my career because I felt like coming from a kid from like quote unquote Detroit to Massachusetts to a company that's all white people to an area that's all white people. Um, didn't go to college. Before this job, I didn't have, it was my first like desk job.
Yeah.
So like, the level of like of the disparity of like me and my colleagues were just crazy. Like, of my background is so much different, and so like I just felt like I had to make sure that like they were comfortable so
Yeah,
that
no,
I
I
could
know. Yeah.
move forward. And looking back on it is like a little cringy, because like I'm like, damn, like I didn't even have to talk like that. And I think that some of the people that know me still through this career have like watched this change, and maybe they don't see it as much. And then I bump into somebody that I haven't seen in a while, and I can see that they see it's different. Obviously, the hair is a little different, but then also like the way that I go about the conversation is, I'm so much more comfortable being me because of the Run Eat Sleep show in the running space, and like allowing, just for me to be myself in those moments, that I don't have to do that anymore. And I don't think I had to then, but like it worked, and I took care of my family, and I'm proud of the stuff that I've been able to do. But then to speak to like how you are and how a lot of us are, Black folks have always had to like read rooms well.
Yes.
And when we don't, it typically doesn't necessarily end up well for us, so like my mom did a good job at making sure that we knew how to move, like, and get what we needed to get and get home. You know what I'm saying? So like, I think that is just ingrained in us early and just through life, to be able to walk into a room and just make stuff like happen. And the more comfortable and the closer I can be to who I am in those moments as well, which is the running space has provided me with, the happier, whatever you call that, more peaceful I can be.
Yes.
And yeah, I think that's dope that you feel the same way, like in those spaces.
Yeah, whether you in the hood or in the burbs, but if you Black, you gotta know how to play it cool. Like, it don't really matter.
You gotta be cool. You gotta figure it out.
Yeah, and it's like you should never be ashamed about what you have to do to survive in the moment. Like it ain't on.
And honestly, if you want to talk about it, like, to me, like at certain points, in being like in the neighborhood, like you have to do more. You have to be more aware and more like, pliable in those moments, looking back than I did when I was like around white folks, like.
But that's why when you get to that level, that's why when you get to that level, you nice. Like, you nice with it. Like, everybody get along with you, cool.
Handles is great. Handles is great, bro. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, for real, because you walk in and it's like I said before, like, I've been around people that was like, I just been around people, and for me to like walk into a room and be like intimidated by somebody else, like that's in like,
khakis
khakis.
Said Jay Farm.
Khakis and a button up or some run-up shoes or run. I mean, just as a joke, but like we gotta just. It is what it is, man. Like,
yeah,
black people are so emotionally intelligent, bro. Like, not just black people, but just people that grew up around rough things, and have been through stuff, are just so emotionally intelligent. And I don't think we don't always get a chance to show that. Or we just gotta be so true to that we never make it out of that to show it, and I'm just blessed to have made it out of certain things to be able to show.
For sure.
That's dope. Tommy, you a Detroit Pistons fan?
Man, so like growing up, I was a Detroit fan of like Lions, which is tough. Yeah. Pistons, but like I kind of fell off of sports like in the last few years. I just got tired of like
losing.
Just too much disappointment, bro. Like, I got enough stuff. I got enough stuff in my life that could have me disappointed about something, bro. Like, I'm not watching TV like and thinking that, oh man, this season about to be great. Like the Lions won a bunch of games in a row. No shade to them. I hope that they do well. I hope they go to the playoffs. Hope that they win the Super Bowl. But I'm definitely not about to like. I can't get emotionally invested, bro.
Yeah, you can't get played like that. You a Jalen Rose fan?
Kipchoge had one base, and I was destroyed.
Destroyed.
I can't be watching the Lions. Kipchoge, who am I? Jalen Rose. Rose. Like, yeah, he cool. Yeah, he cool.
That's my guy.
Hairline crazy. Hairline crazy. Sharp.
He using performance of PEDs now.
He definitely got dye in his afro.
He's using a lot of PEDs right now.
He got dye in his afro, bro. He definitely did.
Bro, but what about I did want to, as we close out too, I wanted to ask you about your hair journey though too, with the freeform, bro. Like, how long have you been growing it? I had dreads at one time, bro. I can't I can't grow my hair back like that, bro. My hair cannot be I'm not gonna make it to your age with my hair that long, bro. Like I'm gonna be bald.
Well, you see
So
that right now.
yeah,
Yeah, no,
I
I'm
mean,
sorry.
I get
Yes,
sad every time I see that, bro. Low key, because I'm like,
Okay,
damn, that's supposed to be me, bro.
that's
You know,
bro.
it's hurt.
Bro, he gonna listen to this podcast.
yeah, no, I got yeah, I'm 38, man. Like, and I got a full head of hair. I think I got blessed with some good genes on the hair in the hair department. But so I started the hair journey in 2020, and that was like we're like you know, just like that revolution of like, yo, we black and we're gonna be proud of it. And I wasn't going to conferences and stuff like that, to see to see people. So I
Yeah.
was like, finally, was just letting my hair grow. I wasn't like, yo, eventually I'm gonna look like this. I just wasn't cutting it. And then I was like, I like this vibe and I like the freedom of it. And then I knew I didn't want to be one of the dudes that like gets I just didn't want to do like the manicured, go get twisted up and stuff like that, which no issue with that, but I just didn't want that. And I'm like, oh, freeforms are a thing. I saw like, obviously Basquiat, I saw Jay-Z had, got him or whatever. And I'm like, oh, I'll try that out. And then like, as it's grown though, like the freedom of it has just been super dope. You know what I'm saying? And it's different every day. Like if you see me tomorrow, like something's going to be sitting differently. So it's a cool journey. It's very freeing.
Oh yeah, they look dope. They look dope for
Thank
sure,
you,
bro.
dog. Thank you, dog. Like if you look at the pictures from TRE last year, my hair was so much shorter, and I didn't even really like. You don't realize like that it's growing until like you see like a picture from a few months or a year ago. It's like, damn, it's getting crazy.
No, for real, for real, for real. And then also, should we go to this question that we always ask?
Oh wait, I got one more.
Go ahead,
I got
do
one more
your
for
thing,
him.
do
I
your
got
thing.
one more for him. I want to hear about. I saw your idea for the shoes movie. I think there's a lot
Oh,
you could do. You talked about it on the Tina Mears podcast. But I think
yeah,
there's a lot you could
yeah.
do.
I forgot about that.
There's a lot you could do with that. Low key, I feel like
Yeah.
I like that. I like that idea.
Yeah, I think that now that you bring it up again, there's much more to that. Like because you gonna have like the you gonna have multiple different carbon fiber plated shoes with different personalities. You know what I'm saying? In the movie, you gonna have like the shoe that ends up getting like discarded as like the shoe cutting shoe.
Yeah.
He mad all the time, or he could be like kind of like a pothead a little bit because he like into the green. You know what I'm saying? It could be we can really flow with this, bro. Yeah, we need to think about this. Maybe we got to make this movie happen.
Dude.
Tina gonna want in on it though, for sure. Since
she
the idea was
she could play one
created.
of the voices. She could play one of the voices.
That would be dope because she'd have like a dang. Okay, now let's. Well,
What
obviously,
shoe would
I was
she
gonna
use?
say which shoe. She's got to be Allbirds, obviously.
Yeah,
All
I mean,
very-
obviously.
yeah.
I mean that she's
Yeah,
not. I
makes
mean, she's
sense.
Allbirds. That's her thing. But Allbirds, I feel like would have an accent.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
But also, we always like to ask as we close out a question to everybody. One question: who should we have next on the Two Black Runners podcast? Do you think would be a great person to come on, fit the mold, be a good conversation? That hasn't been on yet.
I don't know. Like I don't know the list of folks that you've had on.
It don't even have to be inside of running. It could be anybody, Like, you feel me?
Oh dang, man. So yeah, you need to number one. My favorite interviewee of all time is Nipsey Hussle. Rest in peace. If you could somehow get his likeness and interview him, that'd be dope.
I would that'd be crazy.
Yeah. I think a really cool guy for y'all to talk to, especially like where y'all at in y'all journeys, would be Hakim Safari. Are y'all familiar?
Is he
It's Hawk style.
yeah, he bald
Yeah, ball with
and he
with
has
a beard.
ultras and stuff? Yeah, I know. Yeah.
Yeah.
He's been on Rich Roll and stuff.
Yeah. I think he'd be a cool interview. Um, um, Joe Robinson from Detroit. He's on the cover of Runner's World,
I saw that.
which is wild. He'd be a good one. But you think I talk? Buckle your seatbelt. It's gonna be, if you have him on the show, it's gonna be a minute. But he talks very well about he's very passionate about the Black situation and what he feels like I'm not gonna talk for him, but he'd be a really good one to just go down that road on, because I mean that's like seemed like his like life's been dedicated to that vibe. So
I was showing him
for
what it
sure.
is.
I've seen him.
Oh
You never seen
yeah,
him?
yeah,
Yeah, I think so.
yeah. Hawk is Hawk. I've had him on the show. I had him too close to like listening to Rich Roll's show, and I don't know if I did our interview justice because I was too close to like hearing him talk on that show.
Yeah.
Which I've tried not to do like as well. Like I do enough research on my guests to make sure that like I know some of the highlights, but like if you do too much like digging, you're forced to like have the same conversation or whatever that they've had. But so yeah, go into that empty mind, get him on the show, and he's just a cool guy.
And then I got two more. I had one more, but I had two more too. Who was just your favorite athlete to watch this year? Like, you feel me? Like, because I just know that you becoming more into running and stuff. Who's one of your favorite athletes like to watch during their journey? Through if you want to just go from social media or through their performances, but who's been one of your favorite athletes to watch?
Like on a high level, I mean, I'm a big Kipchoge fan, obviously. So I just like him the fact that he just keeps delivering. Um, One of the personal favorite journeys that Ari Hendricks, lady qualified for the Olympic trials,
Dude.
just in CIM. That was dope. And I've just seen like her evolution, and she had crazy injury. I had her on the show. She talked about all the struggles that she went through. To see her have a really good year, especially right at the end of this year, and she'd been like running crazy throughout the year, like to get to this point. And so I think between her and like the high up like Kipchoge, I think that is dope. I know that like as soon as we hang up, I'm like, dang, why didn't you say that? But I think those two are like stand out to me.
Ari was my rep at. I worked at a snail space running shop, and she was my rep at Ultra. Then I saw dope, when I popped up, I was like, "Wait, what? Like that is crazy."
Yeah, super dope, super nice person. All of that, bro. Like she deserves like all the accolades, and I just love how like a lot of Black women are like going after this sub-3 list. Like I think there's like 26 or 27 women now, Black American born women who have run under 3 hours, which isn't enough. It's a good number, it's great, but I just know that there's so many people kind of gunning for it right now and trying to just take it to the next level. So we can have a bunch of women, black women at the trials. That would be dope, No,
that would be super dope. And then last question, we always ask this question to everyone we have on the podcast. It's kind of deep, but it's good. It's a good way to end it off. What impact do you want to leave on running when it's all said and done? You feel me? When Tommy runs, deletes his Instagram account.
Man, I ain't never deleting this Instagram account. It's just change name like Tommy Olds or Sits or something like that. I mean honestly, like I'd be cap if I said that I know. I changed too much. I evolved. I evolved too quickly, I feel, to like say that, but I want I guess I'll say what I want now. I want people to know that like no matter what I want people to know that they're not alone, and no matter what situation you're in, somebody else is going through it, has gone through it. Whatever way you want to spin it, you're not alone, and I think too many of us think we are, so it keeps us from talking, it keeps us from sharing, it keeps us from doing. And the more we realize that if we reach out, someone will be there to assist and help and grab our hands. I think that the world would be a better place.
I love it.
I think that sums it up. That sums the pod, what we've been talking about.
Yeah, I think you're doing some of that right now too, to be honest. But appreciate you, Tommy, coming through the podcast. Appreciate everybody that listened this far into it. It was a meaty one. Over an hour and a half. But you feel me? Hey, I think it's worth all the listen for sure. Aaron, you got anything else to say before we get out of here?
Yeah, if you listen this far into a podcast, you truly are a real one. So always appreciate y'all tapping in. But I'm definitely leaving this podcast with, you know, some lessons learned, some reminders and stuff too. So I hope everyone that listened enjoyed it and it impacts you and helps you along your journey. And Tommy, just appreciate you, bro, being vulnerable with us today and sharing your story.
Yeah, and I sure will see you around somewhere, if not the New York City Marathon again, side by side, running like 2:40. We'll see.
All right, yeah. No, I'm down with it. No, but honestly, man, I really do appreciate being. You guys had me on your show. You know what y'all have done in the space, and you know from the title, it's very Black, to to y'all just pushing forward in a space that just doesn't have a lot of representation. It's encouraging, it's motivational, it's inspirational, all the things. So, and for y'all to be younger too, like it's just dope to see. So I appreciate it. I know a lot of people do, because it shows by the love that y'all get. And for y'all to have such a role at Worlds and all that, I can't wait to see what 2023 brings for y'all. Because I just think it can only get better, and I'm glad y'all took a break so y'all can check to see what really what really matters to y'all. So 2023 is gonna be crazy, I know it. So thanks again.
Appreciate it, man. We'll see y'all next week on Two Black Runners podcast. Let's get it. Maybe not next week. We'll see. You'll see us when you see us. You feel me?
We'll see.